People spend their lives chasing everything and everyone, trying to impress, trying to belong, trying to be seen by people who don't even see themselves clearly. But here's the truth: you are your greatest investment, not your job, not your relationship, not your bank account. You, because if you're not right, nothing else around you will be right either. God didn't create you to live from the outside, and He created you to live from the inside out. You've been pouring yourself into broken cups, and you wonder why you always feel empty. Some of you have been giving your energy, your time, your heart to people who only take. You love deeply, you give freely, and yet you keep getting hurt, disappointed, forgotten. Let me tell you, it's not because you're weak. It's because you're misplacing your value. You see, when you don't understand your own worth, you'll spend your days trying to prove it to people who were never meant to carry it. But God already stamped you with purpose before you even knew what rejection was. Before you were ever broken by life, He placed inside you everything you need to stand tall. But the world won't tell you that. The world will tell you to hustle harder, to chase validation, to stay busy because somehow busyness became a badge of importance. You scroll through people's lives, comparing their highlights to your behind the scenes. And all the while, the enemy is silently stealing your attention from the one thing that truly matters: you, the real you. The one God formed in the secret place. The one who's been called, anointed, and chosen for such a time as this. You're trying to heal while still entertaining the things that broke you. You're trying to grow, but you won't let go of the weight that's holding you down. And you wonder why you're tired, why your spirit feels drained. It's become so good at showing up for everyone else that you forgot how to show up for yourself. But today you have to make a decision. You have to say enough. Enough of giving your time to people who don't value it. Enough of watering dead soil. Enough of waiting for someone else to see what God already declared over your life. Start investing in the things that feed your spirit. Wake up and pray before you scroll. Read something that builds your mind. Take a walk with no destination, just you and God. Protect your peace like it's gold, because it is. Not everyone deserves access to you, and not every voice deserves your attention. You've been living like your time is unlimited, but let me tell you, time is precious. Every moment you spend ignoring your growth is a moment wasted. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not wrong for deciding to focus on your healing, your peace, your growth. People may not understand it. They may call it cold, they may call it distance, but let them. Because when you stop watering people who never poured into you, they'll always label your peace as pride. But you don't owe anyone an apology for choosing to become whole. You owe it to yourself, and you owe it to the God who gave you breath this morning. There's a reason why you feel that tug inside of you. That whisper saying there's more. That's not anxiety, that's not fear. That's the Spirit of God calling you out of distraction and into discipline, out of pleasing others and into pleasing Him. When was the last time you sat still and asked God, what do you want from me? Not what the world wants, not what people expect, but what does God want from your life? You were not created to run in circles. You were created to run your race, and a race can't be run when you keep stopping to ask the crowd for their opinion. Focus on yourself. Build what God placed in you. Guard your mind, renew your heart, and feed your spirit. Because when you get right with yourself, everything else starts falling into place. The people who are meant to be there will find you. The doors that are meant to open will open. And the purpose that's been waiting on you will start to unfold. You don't need more opinions. You need more obedience. You don't need more applause. You need more alignment. And that only comes when you start treating yourself like the divine investment you are. So don't waste another second. Stop running after people and start running toward purpose. The clock is ticking, and your life is too important to spend it distracted. Not everyone deserves access to you. And I know that may sound harsh at first, especially to those who've been taught to be kind at all costs, to give until there's nothing left, to stay available just to keep the peace. But hear me, God never called you to be a doormat. He called you to be a vessel, and vessels must be filled before they can pour. Some of you are leaking because you've given people too much access to your heart, your time, your mind. You're tired, not because you're weak, but because you're surrounded by people who only take and never give. The truth is, there are folks who only come around when they need something. They don't ask how you're doing. They don't check in unless they want a favor, and the moment you set a boundary, suddenly you're the problem. But let me ask you, why do we keep opening the door for people who knock with empty hands and leave with full pockets? Why do we ignore the nudge in our spirit that says something's not right just to keep people comfortable? You are not called to carry the weight of everyone's expectations. Some people see your kindness as weakness. They see your silence as permission. But there comes a time when you have to shut the door, not with anger, but with wisdom. You can love people from a distance. You can pray for them without walking with them. Just because someone was part of your past doesn't mean they belong in your future. God doesn't just remove people to punish you, He removes them to protect you. There are doors God is trying to open in your life, but too many people have their hands on the handle. Some of the blessings you've been waiting for are being delayed because you keep entertaining company that was never meant to go where you're going. You keep explaining yourself to people who aren't even listening. You keep giving second chances to those who used the first to break you. Let me tell you something, boundaries are not unkind, they are holy. Jesus Himself withdrew from the crowds to pray. He didn't heal every person in every village. He moved with purpose, not pressure. And if the Son of God knew when to say no, then why do we feel guilty when we do? Sometimes silence is the loudest answer. You don't need to argue. You don't need to defend your decisions. When God tells you to move, you move even if no one else understands. You don't need everyone to clap for you. You don't need everyone to agree. You just need to be in alignment with what heaven is saying. And if that means walking alone for a season, then so be it. Better to walk with God in silence than with people in noise. You are not responsible for how people respond to your growth. You are not responsible for shrinking yourself so others feel tall. Some people liked you better broken because your healing reminds them of the healing they haven't started. Some people preferred you lost because your direction convicts their wandering. That's not your burden to carry. That's not your fight. There's power in walking away without slamming the door. There's strength in choosing peace over chaos. You don't need to curse them. You don't need to expose them, just step back. Let time reveal what your words don't need to explain. Because one thing I've learned, God sees what you don't, and He hears what they say when you're not around. Trust Him to vindicate. Trust Him to elevate. Trust Him to separate. You are not here to be accessible to everyone. You are here to be available to purpose. So many are drained because they've confused being needed with being valued. But there's a difference. Some need you only when it benefits them. That's not love, that's convenience. And you were never created to be someone's backup plan. You are not their emergency contact for when life gets hard. You are not their emotional punching bag. You are a child of God, full of power, full of destiny, and full of worth. When you begin to honor who you are, the wrong people will feel offended. But the right ones will honor your boundaries and love you with respect. Stop apologizing for requiring peace. Stop explaining why you don't answer every call, why you don't show up to every event, why you've gone quiet. You don't owe the world an explanation when God has given you direction. Let them say what they want. Let them think what they will. But you stay focused. You stay obedient. You stay covered in grace. Because in the end, the voices that matter are not the loudest, they are the ones that echo the heart of God. And His voice will always call you higher. You see, purpose doesn't wait on permission. That's a hard truth for many to hear because we spend so much time looking for approval, for signs, for the green light from others before we even take a step. But God never asked you to wait on the world's permission to walk in your calling. The moment He breathed life into you, He planted a purpose inside you that's ready to move. Yet too many are stuck, frozen by fear, paralyzed by doubt, waiting for someone to say, go ahead, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for validation that may never come. The problem is, the world's applause is unreliable. It's like chasing shadows that disappear the moment you reach for them. You might have been standing in the dark, waiting for someone to turn on a spotlight, when all along the light was inside you. It's time to stop looking outward and start looking inward. Because purpose is a fire God put in your soul to burn, not a suggestion to pause until conditions are perfect. Every great story in the Bible teaches us this. David didn't wait for the crowds to believe he was a king before he stepped forward. Esther didn't wait for her uncle's permission to approach the king. She stepped out in faith, knowing that she was born for such a time as this. And Joseph didn't sit around waiting for his brothers to say sorry. He embraced the purpose God laid before him, even in the prison. They didn't wait. They moved forward with the faith they had. And you have that same faith inside of you. You may not feel ready, but faith is not feeling ready. It's moving forward even when you don't feel ready. It's stepping into the unknown with your hand in God's. And God's timing is not always your timing. Sometimes the delay isn't denial, it's preparation. But waiting for permission from others is not preparation. It's procrastination disguised as humility. Too many of you are stuck in the what if says. What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm misunderstood? What if I'm alone? Let me tell you, those questions are the enemy's way of keeping you small, keeping you silent, keeping you from the destiny God has called you to walk in. Because purpose doesn't grow in comfort zones. Purpose grows in courage zones. You were not made to be ordinary. You were not made to be invisible. You were made to shine, to lead, to inspire. And God has already given you what you need. The gifts, the talents, the wisdom, the strength, they are all inside you, waiting to be unleashed. But it starts with a decision. A decision to stop waiting, to stop doubting, to stop listening to the voices that tell you you're not enough. You have to choose obedience over opinion. You have to be willing to move even when the path is unclear. Because God's vision is bigger than your circumstances. It's bigger than your past mistakes. It's bigger than the voices that say you can't. It's bigger than the fear that whispers, what if? When you choose to step out in faith, you align yourself with a power greater than any obstacle. And I know it's not easy. I know the world will try to discourage you. People will tell you to be practical, to be realistic, to settle for less. But God is calling you to be bold, to be courageous, to be a person who moves with purpose regardless of the noise around you, to be someone who trusts God enough to say, I will walk by faith, not by sight. Purpose demands action. It demands faith in motion. It demands that you stop waiting for permission and start moving with conviction. Because the longer you wait, the more opportunities pass you by. The longer you wait, the more your dreams gather dust. The longer you wait, the more you rob the world of the gifts only you can give. It's time to get up. It's time to move. It's time to stop asking for permission and start asking for courage. The path may be uncertain, but the God who called you is faithful. The God who put the purpose in your heart will equip you for every step. You may stumble, you may fall, but each step forward is a victory over fear. Each step forward is a declaration that you trust God more than your doubts. So don't wait for the world to say yes. Don't wait for the perfect timing or the perfect conditions. God's timing is now. His permission is given. You are called. You are chosen. You are equipped. Walk in that truth and step boldly into your destiny. Too many of us get caught up in the trap of pleasing others. We spend our lives trying to make everyone happy, to earn approval, to avoid conflict. And yet, in the process, we lose sight of who we are and what we were made to do. It's a dangerous place to be, because when your focus is on pleasing people, you're always going to be at their mercy. You'll bend, twist, and break yourself just to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. But that is not the way God calls us to live. God calls us to live with integrity, to live authentically, to live according to the purpose He has placed within us, not according to the approval of men. When you center your life on people's opinions, you give away your power. You become dependent on the applause of the crowd, and that applause can be fleeting and fickle. One day you're praised, the next day you're ignored. One moment you're in favor, the next you're the subject of gossip. The world's approval is not a foundation to build your life on. You see, the danger of pleasing people is that it dilutes your calling, it softens your edges. It turns your focus outward instead of inward. You start living to avoid rejection rather than to pursue God's best for your life. But God didn't create you to be a people pleaser. He created you to be a purpose pleaser, to hear His voice above the noise and to follow His lead even when it's unpopular. Some of the greatest men and women of faith were not people pleasers. They stood for what was right, even when it cost them everything. They spoke truth when the world wanted lies. They walked in obedience when the path was lonely and hard. They didn't try to make everyone happy, they tried to make God pleased. And that made all the difference. You may be in a place right now where you're worn out from trying to keep everyone happy. You've said yes when your heart said no. You've ignored your own needs to meet the demands of others. And maybe you're feeling empty, exhausted, and alone. That's because living to please people is a losing battle. It's impossible to satisfy everyone, and in trying to do so, you lose yourself. The truth is, when you stop trying to please people and start trying to please God, something powerful happens. Your identity becomes rooted in something unshakable. Your purpose becomes clear. Your peace becomes unbreakable. Because God's approval is the only approval that matters. When you know you're walking in His will, the opinions of others become just noise, background static that cannot drown out the voice of your Creator. You have to learn to say no to the pressure, to the expectations, to the need for approval. You have to guard your heart and your time fiercely. Because every yes to something that doesn't align with God's plan is a no to what He has for you. It's a sacrifice of your purpose on the altar of people's opinions. And that's why boundaries are so important. Boundaries aren't just about protecting your time, they're about protecting your soul. They're about creating space to hear God's voice clearly without distraction. When you set boundaries, you're telling the world, I respect myself enough to honor what God has placed inside me. You're telling the world, my purpose matters and I won't let anything steal it from me. I know it's not easy to break free from the need to please others. Sometimes it feels like your value depends on their acceptance. Sometimes you fear rejection more than failure, but let me remind you, the fear of man is a snare, but trusting in the Lord brings freedom. When you live for God's approval, you walk in freedom, freedom freer, freedom from insecurity, freedom from the need to control how others see you. It takes courage to stand firm in who God made you to be. It takes faith to say, I won't be shaken by what others think. But that courage and faith are available to you through the power of the Holy Spirit. You don't have to do this on your own. God will strengthen you when you feel weak. He will give you wisdom when you feel uncertain. He will give you peace when the voices around you try to pull you off course. So start today by asking yourself, who am I living for? Am I living to please people, or am I living to please God? Am I sacrificing my peace for approval? Am I willing to let go of the need to be liked so I can embrace the need to be led? The road to purpose is not paved with popularity. It's paved with obedience. It's paved with integrity. It's paved with the willingness to be misunderstood for the sake of truth. And when you walk that road, you will find a joy and a peace that no one can take away. Remember, you were not made to be everyone's favorite. You were made to be God's faithful servant. So stop wasting your time chasing approval. Start investing your time in pleasing the one who gave you life. That's where your strength, your peace, and your purpose will be found. Too often we find ourselves distracted by the noise of the world, endless chatter, flashing screens, the constant pull of social media, and the busyness of everyday life. We think being busy means being productive, and yet many of us feel empty, exhausted, and far from the purpose God has placed in our hearts. There is a difference between activity and productivity, between motion and progress. And if we are not careful, we can spend our entire lives running in circles, chasing things that don't bring us closer to who God called us to be. The world is full of distractions, and some are subtle, sneaky even. They come dressed up as good things, friendships, entertainment, even work, but they steal your time and your focus without you realizing it. You look up one day and realize you've been busy, but you haven't moved forward. You've been distracted but not productive. You've wasted time on things that do not feed your soul, do not fulfill your calling, and do not build your future. God has given each of us one precious resource that we can never get back: time. And it is the responsibility of every believer to steward that time wisely. The Bible tells us to number our days, to understand that the time we have is limited and must be used with purpose. But how often do we squander this gift, letting moments slip through our fingers, caught up in the trivial, the temporary, the fleeting? There is a powerful lesson in the story of Martha and Mary. Martha was busy, bustling about, distracted by many things. Mary chose to sit at Jesus' feet, focusing on what truly mattered. And Jesus gently reminded Martha that Mary had chosen the better part. In this story, we see the difference between distraction and devotion, between busyness and focus. It's a call for all of us to evaluate what occupies our time and attention. You may be wondering, but how do I know what is a distraction and what is my calling? The answer is found in the quiet moments with God, in the stillness where His voice speaks clearly. When you prioritize your time with Him, your purpose becomes clearer. Your distractions lose their grip. Your eyes are open to the opportunities that align with God's plan for you. It's important to ask yourself what consumes your time. Are you feeding your spirit or feeding your fears? Are you investing in relationships and activities that build you up? Or are you pouring energy into things that drain you? Are you saying yes to every invitation and demand, or are you learning to say no to protect your focus? Learning to say no is one of the most powerful disciplines you can develop. Saying no to distractions means saying yes to your purpose. It means setting boundaries that guard your time and protect your heart. It means turning down things that don't serve your vision so you can say yes to the things that do. Distractions often come disguised as urgent, but rarely are they important. There is a difference between what is urgent and what is important. Urgent tasks shout for your attention, but important tasks shape your future. Too many of us give our energy to what screams the loudest instead of what matters most. God's purpose for you is important, and it requires your focused attention. It demands that you clear away the clutter of distractions and make space for growth, for learning, for prayer, for serving. It means you must be intentional about your time. You must choose carefully where you invest your energy, because every moment wasted is a moment stolen from your destiny. The world will always compete for your time with distractions, but God calls you to a higher standard, to a life lived with intention, with focus, with faith. He calls you to walk in the power of His presence, not the pull of the world's distractions. Remember, Jesus Himself often withdrew from the crowds to pray and be alone with the Father. He understood the importance of solitude and focus. If the Son of God needed quiet to fulfill His mission, how much more do you? Distraction is a thief. It steals your time, your peace, and your progress, but focus is a gift. Focus is the power to move forward. Focus is the key that unlocks your potential and opens the door to your destiny. So today, make a decision to reclaim your time. Identify the distractions that keep you from moving forward and let them go. Create space for what truly matters. Spend time in God's presence. Prioritize your purpose, and watch how your life begins to change. So often we think that success, fulfillment, or even happiness is something that will come to us fully formed, like a gift handed to us from the heavens without effort, without struggle. But that is not the way God designed life. Growth, strength, and victory are born in the furnace of persistence. They come to those who refuse to give up, who keep pressing forward no matter the obstacles, no matter the setbacks. The journey is not easy, and it is not meant to be easy. It is meant to refine us, to shape us into the people God created us to be. There will be moments when the road seems too long, when the burden feels too heavy, when the darkness threatens to swallow your light. But it is precisely in those moments that your true character is revealed. It is when you keep going, when you push past the pain, when you refuse to quit, that you begin to discover the strength that God has placed inside you. Strength that does not come from your own ability, but from your faith in Him. Remember the words of the Apostle Paul, who faced hardship after hardship, yet he wrote, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." It wasn't Paul's own power or determination that carried him through. It was the strength of God working through him. And the same is true for you. When you feel weak, when you want to give up, that is when God's power can be made perfect in your weakness. Persistence is not just about stubbornness or willpower. It is about faith. Faith that God is working behind the scenes, even when you don't see it. Faith that every step forward, no matter how small, is moving you closer to the purpose He has for your life. Faith that the struggles you face are not the end of your story, but a chapter in a greater story of redemption and triumph. You see, the enemy wants you to believe that your struggles mean failure, that your setbacks are the end of the road. But God's Word tells us something different. It tells us that trials produce perseverance, character, and character, hope. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to grow stronger, to build resilience, to deepen your trust in God. This is why it is so important to guard your heart against discouragement. Discouragement is one of the greatest weapons the enemy uses to stop you from fulfilling your destiny. It whispers lies. You're not good enough. You're too tired. You've waited too long. It's too hard, but you must reject those lies. You must hold fast to the truth that God is with you, that His grace is sufficient, that His power is made perfect in your weakness. The story of Job is a powerful example. Job lost everything, his family, his wealth, his health, and yet he did not curse God or turn away. He persisted in faith even when all seemed lost. And in the end, God restored him, blessing him more than before. Job's persistence in faith is a testament to what God can do when you refuse to give up. You might feel like you are alone on this path, but you are not. God walks with you every step of the way. When you stumble, He is there to lift you up. When you falter, He is there to strengthen you. When you are weary, He is there to renew your spirit. But you must keep moving. You must keep pressing forward. You must keep believing. Persistence also means learning to be patient with God's timing. Sometimes we want things to happen according to our schedule, and when they don't, we grow frustrated. But God's timing is perfect. He knows the exact moment to open doors, to provide resources, to bring people into your life. Waiting on God is not wasted time, it is preparation time. You think about the farmer who plants seeds. He doesn't see immediate results. The seed must go into the ground, be watered, nurtured, and wait through the seasons. But in due time, it produces a harvest. Your life is like that seed. Your persistence is the watering and nurturing that will bring forth a harvest in God's perfect timing. So do not give up. Do not lose heart. Your breakthrough might be just around the corner. The next step you take could be the one that changes everything. And even if it isn't, every step forward is victory. Every moment of persistence is a testament to your faith. You are stronger than you realize. You are capable of more than you imagine. But you must keep going. You must refuse to quit. Because God's plan for your life is worth every struggle, every tear, every moment of weariness. He has not called you to an easy path, but He has called you to a victorious one. Keep your eyes on the prize. Keep your heart anchored in faith. Keep moving forward one step at a time. And when you do, you will look back and see how far God has brought you, not by your strength alone, but by His grace.